Hello, my name is Matthew Sear, and I am recording this video to demonstrate the functionality of the app that I created using Ruby on Rails for my Flatiron school project. Uh, and I chose to create a case management application in which a user can sign up and sign in to access a dashboard in which they can create clients, they can create notes for clients, and they can add clients to their caseload. And there are a lot of different things that could be expanded upon functionality-wise that I hope to do at some point. Some things that could be separated between different tiers of authorization between a regular user and an administrator. But for right now, a user can do pretty much anything, and there are some protections built in between user accounts, so one user can't edit another person's notes or caseloads or clients or whatever, but we'll kind of look at that as we go through it. But whenever you go to the home page, it just welcomes you and encourages you to register or sign in. So we'll register to create an account using the methods and controllers that I have built for that. So if we click on register, it'll render some errors, won't allow us to proceed, mostly because everything's blank, but there are some minimum requirements for validity based on format and also length for the password. So let's create a dummy account. And everything worked there. If we sign out, we try to go to users/4, we'll be prompted to sign in to view that page. And that happens with pretty much anything that is not the register and sign in and index pages. So we'll sign in using the account that we just created. Great. And it welcomes us to our home page by name. Let's try to sign in real quick without the correct password. Yeah. And there's kind of just a catch-all error that indicates when the username or password is left blank or it's incorrect or whatever. That worked that time, so that's good. We can also sign in using Google, which is pretty sweet. So if we do that, it's actually going to just log me in because I'm already logged in via my Google account. Let's clear some data. As annoying this is going to be, I think it's important to demonstrate. Yeah, I guess we'll just remove all. I don't think there's any reason not to right now. And we'll sign out there. And we'll remove any cookies for this as well. Okay. So if we go to sign in with Google, it's going to redirect us to sign in to continue to Rails portfolio project. Very interestingly named. So I'm going to use my own email address again. Probably don't need the @gmail.com, but whatever. So I'm going to stop and then stitch this together because otherwise it's going to be annoying whenever I go to get my password from my password manager. So hang tight. Okay, we're back, and now I've entered my password into the sign in with Google prompt that we got there. We're not going to save it. We'll have to approve this two-factor authentication prompt. Great, and it signs us in. And so I was already a user whenever I went to sign in with Google. I have done that previously, and it retains all of my account information. It looks up my account based on that email address, so it brings me back to the first one. It's not like it creates a new account every time. So on our caseload here, we have James Garfield. We can look at James. We can see his case manager, which will redirect us back to our caseload page there. And view all his client notes. You can see the ones that I've created there, who they're written by. Also edit some information. So we can change the case manager to somebody else if we want to. The reason that there are duplicate entries with me in there is because I had an error in my sessions controller that accidentally recreated a new caseload object every time I logged in, but I've since fixed that, so that's why there's only 3 there and not 4 or 5 now, because I have subsequently logged in with my Google account to test this, but that doesn't do that anymore, so that's good. So we're not going to do that right now, but we can go back to my caseload. We can write a new note in which we arc the date. There's supposed to be some number of minutes there that we interacted with James in this case. And if we try to submit with this stuff here, we have some errors. Length of minutes can't be blank, obviously. It's not a number. The content is too short. I put 75 characters arbitrarily. Well, not so much arbitrarily, I guess, like the average sentence length and then average number of characters per word. So I don't know, but it might be something that, you know, a team or a program would like to have in their content management system, so that, you know, users are not just like entering in fake notes that don't really have any content. So let's create a real one. We'll do it for Friday, August 9th. We were with James for 60 minutes. James worked with this writer to achieve goals that are stated in his plan of improvement. I used to work in the field of supporting people with disabilities, so we'd have to write notes, hopefully a little bit more detailed and relevant to the person's goals than this, but that's basically the gist of it. And so whenever we successfully create the note, it redirects us to the show note page, tells us who it's for interaction with me on whatever date. The date of first creation and last update I think is really important, because sometimes there are situations where users would wait months after you know, appointments with people and then go back and try to do the notes because like they were lazy or they were not doing things on time. And this kind of shows when a person actually created it and when they last updated it, so that there's a little bit less chance of that being able to happen on a consistent basis. But we can go back in and edit the note. It doesn't retain the date because it's not an actual date object, it's just a string, so the picker probably can't parse that value, I guess. But I should try to change that to date objects at some point. For now though, it's just a string, and we can make sure we can add some stuff if we want to add information that we forgot to include that first time. And then we remember that it was actually only 45 minutes that we saw James that day. And so let's actually change this back to the date that it was. So yeah, if we look, we can see that the note still has the initial, or the date that we interacted, still the initial creation date. The time that we updated is a little bit later. I could probably make the time format a little less ugly, admittedly, but it works for now. And then the amount has changed, the number of minutes rather, and the additional information that we added is there, and it's still the same note as it was before. We can also delete, which is cool. It pops up and shows us a confirmation so that we don't accidentally delete something, but that's deleted now. Now we can go to all caseloads, and we can see the people that are on different caseloads, like you know, on Amber's we have Billy, Bob, and Echo. We can view them, which is by design. We want to be able to still view other clients and create notes for them, because otherwise you know, it makes it hard if you work with somebody else's client for some reason. Then Echo's my dog, so it's not an actual client. Out in the world. So if we work with somebody else's client, we want to be able to make a note for them. So I think that's okay. We can go back there and now view Echo's client notes. So it's Amber's client, but Matthew wrote the note for Echo, and so Matthew can edit and delete that note. However, if we try to go and edit Amber's caseload, edit her client, we can't edit another person's client because we assume that they have management over them and their information. And that's where like administrative authorizations would probably come in handy a little bit more, because you know there are things that user to users are going to want to be able to do or not do, and then admins are going to want to have a little bit more control over things than that. So I might add in some sort of administrative component to the user model at some point. So yeah, we can also create a new client. Again, basic authorizations there. First name can't be blank, last name can't be blank. Case manager can be blank because there might be times, I know there's definitely been times in the program that I worked for that new clients came into our program and we didn't necessarily have a case manager assignment for them right away. So we'll demonstrate how that works. So we'll do my mom's name, and we'll just leave the case manager blank. So it creates a client page for her, and because she has not been assigned to a case manager, it has her listed as unassigned. There's no notes, prompts us to create one. So we should also be able to go to edit client information, and then if there is no case manager, you know, can be assigned one, we can submit that, and then since it's my account, if we go to all caseloads and go to Williams now, and go to Kathy's, try to edit, we can't do it anymore because he's not our client, or she's not our client. So it kind of works out nicely. I think that basically the way that I have the account set up right now is sort of like in admin mode, so like it would just be restricting some of these permissions then to lower tier users by creating an additional class for that. The functionality, everything though in general is pretty well established. I don't have a link for it quite yet, but there's also a especially for administrators, like it would be useful to have this linked, but you can also go to clients unassigned to see which clients are unassigned. And since we just assigned the one for Kathy, there aren't any there now. So let's create a new client who is also unassigned. This time we'll make it my dad. We'll submit, create him, and then we'll go to client/unassigned, and we see him listed there. So that way it's a quick way for program managers or administrators to go in there and say like, okay, who do we have who came in recently that hasn't been assigned? So that's kind of helpful as well. We can view everybody's caseload, our own caseload, and do some creation of clients there. And then for each client we can do notes if we need to. So what would probably be helpful to as far as increasing the usability and functionality of things would be to have a search for clients instead of just a list, because once it becomes so large it's going to be a little bit cumbersome to continue to manage that, and right now they're just in whatever order. Actually, they are in alphabetical order but by first name, which is probably not what we would expect, so we might want to have things organized more by last name, comma first name, which I think is an easy change to implement, but in general I think everything works well as it should, and has some good organization through the nested resources as well. Like, so if we have users right here, we can go to our caseload, it's subbed under this, but if we go to client, that's its own thing, and their notes are subbed under them. So the caseloads kind of redirect us to the main client resource, and then there's some stuff that's stored under that. So yeah, that's basically it though. And if we sign out, again, we can't do anything that we were doing before. Got to be signed in. So I think everything is pretty well protected at this point, and in general functions as it should. Just need to kind of shore up the functionality a little bit for it to become a usable application in the context that I'm hoping for it to be used, and maybe make things a little bit more user friendly. But as it stands, I think this is a pretty solid go at it. So yeah, thank you for watching.